Hey everybody, welcome back to Great Northwest Weaponry. This is Thomas, and today we are doing something completely different than anything that we've done before. This is going to be a non-shooting video, so if you came here to watch a shooting video, my apologies. I could have maybe done some shooting throughout this one, but I didn't really get the chance to get out to the range. But what we're doing today is a collaboration between myself and 3 other YouTube channels, The Blind Sniper, 8mm Mauser Man, and Guns, Gear, and Guns with Geary Gunderson. Loved that guy's channel name, by the way. If I had thought of that and it wasn't something that somebody had already adopted as their name, I would have totally gone that route. I can be a bit ridiculous. You guys don't see an awful lot of that, as I usually, try to take my videos a little more seriously as I'm showing you the history and such, but I can be ridiculous sometimes. Anyway, point of today's video, we are taking a look at our favorite Milsurps in the year 2022. So this list, I may do a video like this again down the road sometime because especially the first portion of the list, could change from my part. By the way, I will be posting links to each of the other channels that are part of this collaboration. We're just doing this to kind of, spread the word. We're all relatively small channels. And we've all been in, communication in a little chat group, and just thought it'd be a good way to share some subscribers. And as we're all smaller channels, maybe get some cross viewing, as many of you may not be aware of all of our channels. So anyway, favorite military surplus guns in general. We're doing pistols and rifles, and we're doing 4 of each pistols and rifles. Our just outright favorite of both pistol and rifle, our favorite from a practicality standpoint, and then the same, but with guns that we do not presently own. Again, the only real rule that we've set on this is that it has to be surplus. As the majority of my collection is World War I and II, I'm going to put kind of an additional layer on myself and say it has to be World War II surplus. This is partially because a lot of my later semi-automatic rifles, especially with the rifles, are not ones that I would choose for either category. I mean, I only own 2, the VZ52 and the Hakim. VZ52, if it was a 52-57, then it may be viable, as it would be then chambered in 7.62x39. Considering it's chambered in 7.62x45, which is like impossible to find, it definitely doesn't fit the practicality standpoint. And there are other guns that I find more historically interesting. The Hakim is an unreliable, prone to exploding monster that can just about remove your thumb. So you are rewarded no points, Mr. Hakim, though I do still love you. Now, I'm going to be starting with rifles across the board, and then we'll do pistols. So first off, my just outright favorite rifle. We have got here my 1915 Mauser Gewehr 98. I was looking for one of these for so long before I managed to get my hands on this one. This is going to definitely be a theme with some of these, especially just the outright favorites, is going to be, how much I had to work to get it. Finding a Gewehr 98, a good Gewehr 98 that was, matched and original stock that's unaltered, it really proved to be a pain for me over here. The only real knocks against this as far as practicality is the length. Keep on trying to set this on the arm of my chair and it keeps on falling, so I'm going to kind of hold it in front of myself here. The length is fairly obscene. They fix that with the Kar 98, but I don't like the Kar 98 sights, never have. I love the Gewehr 98 sights. I actually shoot this gun well. It's, they're kind of ridiculous looking, the roller coaster sight, but I always have been kind of enamored with it. Ammo availability. Right now, 8mm Mauser, unless you're looking at surplus ammunition, of which is kind of sketchy to shoot in these older guns, not really the most available thing in the world. So let's move on to what I would choose from a practical standpoint. This one was a little tougher for me to choose. I was kind of up in the air about 3 of them, but it had to be the American Enfield Winchester model 1917. This is a 1918 dated example, early 1918. I have had nothing but success with this rifle. The other guns, by the way, that were in my consideration was namely the finish Mauser M39. I shoot that gun very well, and ammo availability is, you know, not an issue. 7.62 by 54R is pretty widely available, as is 30-06, and both of them are fairly similar as far as power transfer. I shoot this gun very accurately. I took a deer with this rifle about 4 years ago now, almost exactly 4 years ago, actually, at about, it's like a little over 350 yards freehand. So I definitely shoot this gun well. It's a very well-built gun. The bolt on this thing just feels just, it's just so smooth. Cock on close. And, you know, kind of happy to represent American firearms, even though this is British design, it is American manufacture, for my absolute, you know, pick for what I would use in a bug out scenario. 30-06 is easy to come by. I've got a huge stockpile of stripper clips for this rifle. I shoot it accurately. I can shoot it fairly quickly. And I don't own any semi-automatic rifles that I would say are viable. If I did, then that would be my pick. Speaking of, if I were to pick semi-automatic rifles as far as straight up favorite and favorite from a practical standpoint, they would be semi-automatic. I would not pick a bolt action rifle if I had better options, military surplus speaking, for whatever scenario you can imagine. I would prefer a semi-automatic rifle. So first off, going American once again, and this one is a ridiculous one. This is just my outright favorite, Johnson Model 1941. The Johnson rifle is something I have always, ever since I became aware of it, just desperately wanted. They are absurd. It's just a really weird design. It's like this weird side-feeding design where the rounds are fed in almost like a Kreg. It's like a semi-automatic Kreg, honestly. Again, not the most practical design in the world. There's a reason the M1 Garand was picked over the Johnson Model 1941. I don't know with the Johnson Model 1941 if this is as much as an issue as it is with the M1 Garand, but standard 30-06 that you can just find anywhere could be a potential issue for this rifle. It could severely harm it. Again, with the Johnson, as far as whether or not it would, I don't know for sure. Like with the M1 Garand, you hear that consistently, like, don't shoot hunting ammo through an M1 Garand. It will damage it. You need ammo specifically designed for that gun, or you'll hurt it. Largely the reason that I don't have one yet is because they're just so darn expensive. And that is going to be a theme, because when we get to pistols, my absolute favorite pistol that I don't own is largely an expense issue as well. Expense and availability. Like, you don't see Johnson Model 1941 rifles ever, really. And, you know, take a look on Gunbroker and see if you can find one. I would not be surprised if there are none currently for sale. And when they are, they're usually like $7 to $10 grand. Which is a little more than I can justify dumping on a gun right now. I'd have to save for some time on that. Favorite from a practicality standpoint, it's probably going to have to be the SVT-40 for me. I've wanted, that right now is my most wanted rifle that I could realistically afford. They're less than half as expensive as the Johnson rifle, and they are a lot less finicky on ammo, because everything the Russians made in World War II can basically be fixed by smacking it with a hammer. But again, 7.62 by 54R, widely available cartridge. There's nothing in the Pacific Northwest that I can't kill with a 7.62 by 54R or a 30-06. So that has definitely played a role in my picks here. The other rifle, as far as favorite that would be practical, would probably have been the 6.5 Swede, but ammo availability, the model 1896. 6.5 Swede. Got too many dates jumbled around in my mind. I think that's correct. But ammo availability, for one, is a lot less. It is around, but you're not going to find it in the same way that you're going to find 30-06 or 7.62 by 54R. And It does not have the stopping power, of which stopping power is, you know, kind of a myth, really, but the killing ability of 6.5 Swede, we'll put it that way, not the same as 30-06 or 7.62 by 54R. For instance, I don't know that you could stop an engine block of a oncoming vehicle with 6.5 Swede. 30-06, you can. 7.62 by 54R, you can. Or in a hunting scenario, a bear. We'll go with the bear metaphor here. Shooting a bear with 6.5 Swede, I've got 5 shots in a bolt-action rifle. I am not super confident that that bear is not going to maul me. It's going to die, but I don't think it's going to die quickly. Whereas with either 30-06 or 7.62 54R, I'm pretty confident that bear's dead. So again, SVT-40. I fully intend on having one of those before 2023 ends. I'm actually planning on kind of starting to save up for it. I just paid off another firearm. We'll be taking a look at that in the near future. But once I get some money saved up, I'm going to hunt me down an SVT-40. I want one bad. It's just something I've always been very into. Now for pistols. It's the Luger. For my just straight up favorite, it had to be the Luger. I love the Luger so very much. Again, from a practicality standpoint, there are issues. This particular example, 1915 DWM, military example, we've had issues with this gun. We actually did fairly recently a video on repairing this example because I had half the gun go flying away when I was shooting. 9mm is widely available, so that wouldn't be an issue, but they're a very complicated design. Parts are not easy to get your hands on. There are parts that are prone to breaking on the Luger. I was kind of torn. I very nearly picked the P38, but the P38 has the real issue of a shattering barrel. Luger doesn't have that issue, but it had to be the Luger for practicality not being a consideration. Now, practicality is a consideration. I am very curious to see if I'm the only person who, amongst the 4 of us channels doing this collab, if I'm the only one who picked a revolver. Smith & Wesson model 1917. Now, hear me out. I know that there's going to be someone going, well, semi-automatic though, semi-automatic's better. Again, we're talking about surplus, and for myself, everything that we've taken a look at has been not just a World War I or World War II example. Everything that I have actually shown you as far as examples that I have has been World War I. As far as stuff that I don't currently own, they're probably both going to be World War II. But the Smith & Wesson Model 1917 is a ridiculously overbuilt 45 ACP revolver fed with moon clips. So you've got a 6-round capacity. The majority of Milsurp World War I and II stuff, your max capacity is 8. So you're losing 2 rounds of capacity, but it's fed with moon clips. It is quick and easy to reload. Moon clips and half moon clips are really cheap. You can get, I could accumulate a huge amount of these for pennies on the dollar. If this was a Luger or P38, if I'd chosen one of those for practical purposes, yeah, I've got more capacity, but I can't carry more capacity on me without spending an exuberant amount of money on magazines. Half moon clips, I can get all day long. 45 ACP is an effective man-stopping cartridge. So, yeah, I picked a revolver, and I shoot this thing quite well, actually. I shoot it better than I shoot most of my military surplus semi-automatic pistols, with the exception maybe of the Luger. I shoot the Luger fairly well. I actually shoot the Luger better than I shoot the P38. Weirdly, I shoot the Nambu pretty good too. I don't think that's normal, but I've yet to have an issue with my Nambu, and I think I've only had like 1 recorded miss in the history of the channel with the Nambu. So I don't really know what that's about, but it's been more than 1. It's probably 4 or 5. But yeah, Smith & Wesson 1917, that's my pick for practicality. Again, it's super heavily built. There's not a lot you can do to hurt this gun. 45 ACP is widely available, and for a revolver, reloads are quick and easy. It's just bonk, bonk, or, you know, like so, click, click, or if you got full moon clips, click, boom. So there's boom, 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 boom. It's simple. It's simple, it's quick. It's not as quick as a magazine reload, but with the World War I and II stipulation that I put on myself here, yeah, it's actually the easiest one to get clips for. Again, these are actually clips. It's not magazines as it is a revolver. Whereas any of these semi-automatic pistols that I do own, magazines are going to be an issue, and reliability is going to be a real issue. Reliability with this gun is not an issue. Now, come to the final stretch. Favorites that I don't have as far as pistols. And again, I'm going to go large with the one that we're not necessarily taking practicality into consideration. I want a Lottie L35 really bad. I've wanted one for a long time. I don't want the Husqvarna. I don't want any other knockoff of it. I want the Lottie Finish L35 to go with my Finnish Mausers. I love my Finnish Mausers. I'm a winter war nut, as you guys are aware if you have watched my channel for a while. It's just a really cool design. At a glance, it kind of looks like a Luger, but it maybe functions a little closer to a Nambu. It's in 9mm, but it's just weird looking. I love everything about it. I love weird guns. I always have loved weird guns. The first gun I ever really took an interest in was the Luger, hence it being picked for just my straight up favorite. As far as practicality, probably going to have to be a FN Browning high power. It's higher capacity, 9mm, widely available. The Lottie L35 is also 9mm, but parts, you're not going to find parts for an L35. For a Browning high power, you can find modern mags that would probably work just fine. You can find modern parts that would probably be fine as replacements. It's actually like a pretty practical option and a really well-built design. I mean, it's from the high power that the CC75 was derived, and the CC75 is one of my just favorite 9mm, period. I've always loved that design, and it comes from the high power. So yeah, that rounds out my 8. We've got, for rifles, Gewehr 98 for favorite that I own. Johnson Model 1941 for favorite that I do not. Winchester 1917 for most practical that I own. SVT 40 for most practical that I do not. And again, these are most practical and favorites. So it is amongst your favorites, what is the most practical? It's not necessarily a purely this gun is for practicality's sake only. Where were we? SVT 40, yes. So on to pistols. Luger P08 for favorite that I own. Lottie L35 for favorite that I do not. Most practical that I own, Smith & Wesson Model 1917. Most practical that I do not, FN High Power. Please check out the other channels that are doing this collaboration with me. I will be, again, linking all of their channels in this video description. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. It's been Thomas from Great Northwest Weaponry, and I'll see you next time.